Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Long queues at testing stations prompt calls to scrap PCR requirement when traveling to the mainland. Macau's casino junket operator Alvin Chau has been jailed for 18 years. There are long queues at COVID test centers as more people are looking to head north during the holidays. Lawmakers are urging the government to simplify the process by allowing people to take rapid antigen tests instead. Maisie Mock reports.
A drop in temperature did not stop dozens of people from queuing for a COVID test at Maple Street Playground in Shamshui-Po. At noon, the operator put up a sign saying walk-in slots were full. Talking on a radio program, Ricky Chu, chief executive of Phase Scientific, which operates several COVID test centers, said people without a booking might have to wait for up to 2 hours. The number of people taking the test is on the rise since last Friday, a few days after quarantine-free travel with the mainland resumed, he added. Several lawmakers are calling for the government to replace the PCR test with the self-administered test for two-way travel.
For Macau residents, if they enter into a mainland, they will not need to, it's not necessary for them to present any test results. So in fact, the mainland government, that already shows that the mainland government is not really that strict. I mean, there is room for negotiation.
Lawmaker Leung Hae shared the sentiment, but said it will be difficult for the mainland government to accept a RAT result from people heading north.
I think at this current stage, it is quite difficult for the mainland China to discriminate us or discriminate the people from the other countries so that we have a different standard. So I think that at the same time, for their side, they have to have the same standard for us and also for people from the other countries.
Meanwhile, starting from tomorrow, PCR tests for children aged 3 or below will be scrapped both ways. Secretary for Education Choi Yuk-lin wants to exempt cross-boundary students from COVID test mandate. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Alvin Chau, who used to be one of the most powerful men in Macau, has been jailed for 18 years for operating an illegal gambling ring and other offenses. The businessman made a fortune by bringing in high rollers from the mainland in an arrangement called a junket. Security was extra tight outside the court building in Macau, where Alvin Chau was due to be sentenced. Once known as the king of junkets and one of the most powerful men in the gambling hub, Chau has spent the past 13 months in detention at Palawan prison. With a flashy lifestyle and romantic relationship with model Mandy Liu, despite being married with 2 children, the billionaire's arrest in November 2021 was seen as a dramatic fall from grace. Chau's downfall was complete today, as the 48-year-old was sentenced to 18 years in prison. The former Sun City Group chairman was found guilty of 162 offenses, out of 289 he denied. He was jailed for 12 years for the crime of secret association or society, the maximum penalty stipulated under the law. Chau was also convicted of over 100 counts of running illegal gambling operations, as well as 54 counts of fraud of a substantial amount. Some of the jail terms will run concurrently for a total of 18 years. Chau and 6 other defendants will also have to compensate the Macau government of 6.5 billion patakas in taxes, as well as gambling operators of 2.2 billion patakas in revenue. Chau's lawyer expressed disappointment at the ruling and has signaled an intention to appeal. The case underlines Beijing's determination to crack down on capital outflows, as Chau was known for running a lucrative business by referring wealthy mainland businessmen to casinos. Back in Hong Kong, 9 people have been arrested in a money laundering case involving $6 billion, the most in customs history. The 3 men and 6 women, including a 56-year-old housewife who's believed to be the mastermind, were arrested earlier this month. Officers raided offices, a money changer, and a residential flat in Hong Kong, which they said was the operation center. The suspects allegedly set up shell companies and bank accounts to launder dirty money. Over 7,600 suspicious transactions were detected in the past 3 years. Those arrested are currently released on bail. Hong Kong officials are confident that the city will regain its status as a regional cruise hub. That's after the city welcomed the first international cruise liner in 3 years. Macy Mock reports.
Carrying over 320 guests from 20 regions, Silver Spirit sailed into Victoria Harbour this morning. The cruise liner operated by Silver Sea under the Royal Caribbean Group is the first to visit Hong Kong in 3 years. The SAR government even marked the occasion by deploying a fire boat for a water salute. At around 8 a.m., Silver Spirit berthed at the ocean terminal in Tsim Sha Tsui. With no more COVID restrictions, passengers said they will make the most of their overnight stay in Hong Kong.
Shopping, and more shopping. We're delighted to be here. We're not worried about the COVID restrictions. We're happy it's open so that we can finally get in, and we're looking forward to seeing everything.
The tourism board expects 16 cruise ships to visit Hong Kong this year.
I'm very confident that more and more cruise lines will be making port calls to Hong Kong, as well as to base some of their ships in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very attractive cruise destination. The sense of arrival when you come into Victoria Harbour is really second to none in Asia.
Today, we are very excited about the visiting of international cruise lines to Hong Kong after 3 years of pandemic. It's a very important milestone to us along the road of recovery. And we will work hard with the tourism board to do a lot of promotion work to attract more tourists coming to Hong Kong.
Silver Sea Managing Director Adam Radwanski said all passengers have undergone COVID tests and no infections were found. Hong Kong is the last destination of the vessel's Asian voyage, which began 2 weeks ago in Singapore, with subsequent stops in Thailand and Vietnam. It will set sail to Singapore tomorrow. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
About 200 prominent figures from Hong Kong have been appointed to the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Joining China's top political advisory body are several second-generation politicians and businessmen, while longtime Vice Chairman Tung Chee-hwa will step down. Chloe Fong reports.
After 3 days of meetings in Beijing, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC, confirmed its National Committee members for the coming 5 years. Of 2,172 members picked for the 14th term, 200 are from Hong Kong. Former Chief Executive Raymond Yeung has been appointed a 3rd term as Vice Chairman. His predecessor, Tong Ji-hwa, the SAR's first leader, will step down at 85. Also missing from the name list is Carrie Lam, who joins Donna Zhang as the only past chief executives not to be elevated to the status of elder statesman. Among the 18 incumbent Hong Kong members on the CPPCC Standing Committee, 8 will serve 5 more years. They include Tycoon Victor Lee, a member since 2008, and Henderson Land Development co-chairman Peter Lee. Former World Health Organization Director General Margaret Chan, former Chief Secretary Henry Tang, and Hong Kong Federation of Fujian Associations Chairman Ng Le Ho will also remain in their posts. The trio are all 70 years or older, well past the unofficial retirement age of 68. A number of second-generation politicians and businessmen will join the advisory body. They include New World Development Chief Executive Adrian Chen, Shentech Holdings Executive Chairwoman Pan Se-ho, Wheelock & Company Chairman Douglas Wu, and Sun Hong Kai Properties Executive Director Adam Kwok. while 124 entered the body as specially invited Hong Kong dignitaries. Others were selected through their achievements in their fields. They include Donnie Yen, the action film star who replaces Jackie Chan in the arts and cultural sector. Also, a new member is Lo Wing-hong, the veteran journalist who founded online media outlet Bastille Post and assisted Chief Executive John Lee in his election campaign. Several lawmakers have been given the nod, including Anglican cleric Peter Kong and rural leader Junius Ho. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Turning overseas, Ukraine's interior minister was part of 15 people killed in a helicopter crash near Kyiv, and authorities are still trying to find out what happened. The tragedy came after the United States and Britain pledged additional military support for the country, after a Russian missile attack killed more than 40 civilians last week.
We remain committed to sustaining our security assistance to Ukraine as it defends its people against Russia's brutal attacks, like the one we saw just this weekend on an apartment building in Dnipro on Saturday, far from the front lines.
As you will have seen, Britain has decided to accelerate our support, including the supply to Ukraine of main battle tanks, heavy artillery, and other military systems.
NATO has also deployed surveillance aircraft in nearby Romania to monitor the Russian military, which has intensified its onslaught on several cities across Ukraine in recent days. The residents of Dnipro, meanwhile, are asking for missiles to defend their city from further attacks, and their wish will soon be granted after the US has agreed to provide the Patriot surface-to-air guided missile defense system. Philippine Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Ressa and her online media company Rappler have been acquitted of tax evasion by a Manila court.
Today, facts win. Truth wins. Justice wins. These charges, as you know, were politically motivated. This acquittal is not just for Rappler. It is for every Filipino who has ever been unjustly accused.
Ressa's news website Rappler was shut down in 2018 for violating a constitutional provision which prohibits overseas stakeholders in media companies from receiving funds from abroad. But the tax charges against the Nobel laureate stemmed from her vocal criticism of former President Rodrigo Duterte and his war on drugs, which claimed thousands of lives. A court has now ruled that the funding received was non-taxable, and the company is wholly owned by Filipinos. Japan's central bank has maintained its lax monetary policy, defying market expectations it would phase out its massive stimulus program. Policy board members at the Bank of Japan voted unanimously to keep its yield curve control measures. They also decided to maintain its key interest rate at minus 0.1%, unlike central banks around the world which have tightened credit to counter inflation. The moves sent the Tokyo market soaring by 2.5%, while the yen depreciated to 130 against the greenback. Analysts are now eagerly waiting on the announcement of a successor to Governor Haruhiko Kuroda, a staunch backer of monetary easing who will step down in April. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index picked up 100 points today. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent gained $6.20. The tracker fund up 12 cents, but Alibaba was down by 40 cents. JD.com down $4.20. Wuxi Biologics also down 5 cents, but Kuaishou Technology was up by $1. The forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, euros at 8.47. Pound sterling at 9.68, while the Australian dollar at 5.49. And finally, in Europe, the London FTSE is currently trading nearly flat. On to the weather now. Fine and dry tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 13 and 19 degrees. Similar conditions on Friday, but becoming cloudy on Chinese New Year's Eve. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Thanks for watching. Good night.